Now, I know that you're on your 7th day of travel, and you have 13 more to go, but my friends, I need to roll for random encounters. I know they don't give you XP, they don't give you loot, they don't give you anything, but we need to fill the time. Welcome, scholars, storytellers, and fellow babysitter DMs. This is the Level Up Corner, led by yours truly, Wizo, as we delve into all the tips and tricks about Dungeons and Dragons. Today's topic is random encounters in D&D. Now, random encounters have gained a bit of a bad rap in the past, and that's because they've been used the way our introduction showed. They were primarily, well, they feel primarily like they are time fillers. That they are something to just waste what we're doing with our D&D games. They're meant to slog things down, and oh my god, they're awful. And they really do feel that way most of the time. So we are going to go over how to make these random encounters interesting, wonderful, and why they exist in the first place. Now, the reason why random encounters exist, first of all, is because back in the day, you needed XP to level. I know. An archaic system. You accumulated experience points, you did math, you tried to reach a goal. I mean, this 0 to 1,000? What is this? Weird numbers and things. Well, today, we are blessed with things like milestone or, well, we still use EXP, but EXP has come a long way. See, back in the day, EXP was only given through accumulated treasure or killing. So that means you unlocking a trap does nothing. You subverting combat is bad. You role-playing with other people is a waste of time. And thus, you are there to get your treasure, to kill your monsters, to become murder hobos. And that is, well, I mean, that's what D&D was. And random encounters were there to give you those options of extra combat, to give you more XP so that you could level, so that when you go to the next level of the dungeon, you're ready. Because, I mean, if you're level 2 facing a creature that's meant to be for level 4 party, I mean, it's theoretically possible, but is it likely? No. So that's why they had random encounters, to give you that EXP so that you wouldn't die, at least when delving further. But as stated, we've come a long way. If people still use XP, they make it so that your subversion of a combat might give you the same EXP that you would if you fought and killed things, maybe even more. That makes it so that you're encouraged to spend less time dealing with potential encounters in combat and are rewarded for spending less time doing so, rather than saying, you were creative, so screw you. Like that's not fun. And we also have come a long way to where talking with people, oh my goodness, is useful. That revolutionary concept, I know. But that's where we've come with EXP. Or we still go with milestones. And in that case, random encounters really have no purpose. Or do they? See, random encounters weren't originally just meant to give EXP. The original intent was so that they could add threats, so that they could add more atmosphere, so that they could advance the plot. Now, how I use random encounters, and yes, I still do use random encounters, are to enhance the story and the environment. So, for example, if you're in a forest and you have a random encounter, you probably don't want wolves as your random encounter. I mean, yes, it is appropriate level-wise, but plan when there's wolves going to attack your party. As a random encounter, it should be something that lets them know about the area. For example, it could be a troll that is old and intelligent enough to talk to your characters. Now, that is something new. That makes it so that your players are able to get information about the area. They're able to see that not all trolls are just some mindless creatures. You're able to infuse into the world something completely new that's not in any other D&D world. Have you ever seen an intelligent talking troll? I haven't. So this makes it so your story is already unique and interesting. This forest has more than meets the eye. And you don't have to have just non-combat encounters be for your random encounters. You could have traps as well. A random encounter is that they fall into a pit trap. Oh no, your player's fallen into a pit trap or avoided it. Well, what does this mean? Think of the implications. If there is a pit trap, then that means it has to have been made. I know, leap of logic there. But hear me out. If it's made by someone or something, which means there is someone or something else out there, possibly intelligent or even has some form of civilization. And then, if you want to go even further, you could say that that civilization has its own territory or influence or power that the players may have to contend with and deal with later. All this happened just from having a simple pit trap in the middle of the jungle or forest or wherever your players are. You can also make it so that the atmosphere is enhanced through combat. Now this is usually for more strange monsters. If your players are in a forest and it's all been happy, bright, and sunshiny, whatever, but there was some deep, dark murder or mystery or whatever else in this section, the forest becomes cold. Fog starts to envelop them as they start to see gravestones. And then they see it. This ethereal woman come out. Beautiful at first. But then as your eyes quickly adjust, you see that she is a monstrous being as she is bringing back her head and about to give a wail. A banshee, if you will. This makes it so the forest is not a standard forest, but that the forest has had civilization in the past. It has had more here than just being a barren wasteland. There was even murder. Someone was horribly murdered to make a banshee, after all. And you have added a lot to your world through this one random encounter. And yes, it is combat, but you need to add atmosphere. You can add extra parts to your world, to your game, to make it more interesting through random encounters. But, my friends, how should you use them? Or more aptly, how do you know if the players should actually encounter something randomly? Well, the first is if they're just wandering and they don't have a real destination. If they're wandering and they don't have a real destination, you can roll and see which random encounter they encounter. Not if they encounter a random encounter, but which one they encounter, and it kind of points them into a new direction. Again, the pit trap points them towards a civilization. The banshee points them towards a mystery of what once happened here. And you can see even the troll points them towards new information. It is able to give them a new perspective, give them a new way, a new road to follow, if you will. The second way to do this with random encounters is to add threats to your world. In D&D, we have a problem with many games. Now, it's not necessarily a problem, but it usually turns into one, where players have one encounter a day, and then they long rest. This makes it so that your monks, your warlocks, your fighters even, whatever else, are not as useful as, let's say, a wizard or a sorcerer, or people that just have their mechanics or the resources refreshed upon a long rest. They are innately better because you do not have short rests, which you're meant to have about 2 to 3 short rests in a day to try to balance out how other classes are made. We don't do that a lot. So what I use my random encounters for is that if the players decide to have a short rest, whatever, I'm probably not going to roll. If they do a long rest, however, and it's not in a safe area like a town or a scoped out building or anything along those lines, then I roll for my random encounters. This makes 2 things happen. 1, it makes it so that it encourages your short rests, so that your other classes actually have a place in the game. So warlocks don't feel terrible because they just do compared to like a wizard or a sorcerer when you don't have as many short rests. And 2, I have to have that sense of danger added into it. How many times has your party delved into a dungeon with reckless abandon and then decided, oh, we're in a room, we're safe, let's long rest? I can tell you it's more than 0, which is far too much. If they do that, it's okay. They can, but they are pushing it. After all, there are many stories of adventurers who have died. There is a high mortality rate for this job, which is why most people don't do it. Your adventurers are meant to be a cut above the cloth for the rest of everyone else, but there should still be danger to it, and they should still use their brains. They should still be smart. They should still be challenged in order to play the game. So that if your players recklessly delve into a dungeon and don't have a safe point to come back to, they may risk death. And if players are literally flirting with and teasing death, like, oh, come here, oh, well, death might come every once in a while, and it might smash your players in the face. It might teach them, hey, you aren't invincible. You should be somewhat cautious. And this is why, if players are in a dangerous area, they would try to hunker down or rest, even with some resources left over, because encounters can happen. Things don't always go the way you want. And that element of threat, that element of danger, is what makes random encounters still very, very good for when players long rest in an area that they are really risking it to long rest in. Now, there are still a few more things that random encounters can do. They can give the players an idea of what is to come. For example, if they're in a forest and they're going to go to a desert biome, there's actually a desert creature in the forest. They could make some checks. They could figure things out like this. It's not right. Why is there a sandworm in my dirt? That doesn't. I mean, it's a worm, but there's no sand, so I'm kind of confused. And that actually teaches them that, hey, you're gonna be going to the desert somewhat soon, and that might be a day and a half away, but you're using it as a preemptor as to what they will encounter. Or if your players fight a goblin spellcaster in a cave of goblins, they find out, hey, these are not just normal goblins. These goblins have the capability to cast spells. Therefore, they are more difficult, and we should possibly plan for that. Like when we're going to face the boss. Yeah, giving them some forewarning. But lastly, what random encounters allow you to do is change things up and showcase where the plot is going. Let's go back to the troll example. Instead of them encountering a talking troll, they encounter a troll and they hit it with fire. Of course, obviously, the troll regenerates from that fire. You're like, wait, whoa. One moment, I thought it was acid and fire that stops the troll regeneration. You are correct, my friend. Normally, it does. But for this troll, it absorbs fire. And now the players are like, what? So, it gives them a safe, controlled environment where they're trying to figure out what the troll's weaknesses are, why this troll is different, and it can allude to something greater later on, such as a wizard who is changing the genetic makeup of some creatures, who's making different trolls, who's making trolls that are absorbing fire, absorbing acid. They still have a weakness. Yeah, sure, their weakness is like cold or thunder or whatever else, but he's changing it. And that can make things more interesting as well. You can make it so that you have armored trolls to show that there's a warlord who's coming in and is trying to subvert that fire weakness by giving them armor that actually is fire resistant or has the ability to stop them from being burned. You can go through a whole bunch of different ways to further the plot and make it, and introduce new elements through random encounters, because random encounters are usually more controlled environments. It's not this fray with a whole bunch of different terrain and everything else. It's usually in a bit more just, it happens. And there might be terrain, there might be an open area, but you've already been here, is the idea. You've already settled, and you're able to really figure out things in this spot better than anywhere else. Now, my friends, I hope we have given you a different perspective on random encounters. They have gotten a bad rap in the past. They have felt awful to run for many different DMs out there because they stuck with that preconceived notion of just they're there to fill time, which is horrible. But I hope that we have given you a bunch of different ways and uses on how to use random encounters to help enhance your game and make things a little bit more interesting. But don't let me be the only one to espouse how I feel about random encounters. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below and your experiences with random encounters. Will this new information change how you view and use random encounters in your games? I hope so, and if you have any other ideas as to how to make random encounters even more awesome, definitely share it. But also, don't forget to share this video to show that random encounters are not completely worthless, and like and subscribe so that you can stay informed. Lastly, always remember that your players love and appreciate you. Until next time, my friends, keep rolling. Keep rolling.